How I Use Digital Technologies When Creating My Ancillary Products by Georgia Plum. I used Google Images to research the ancillary products of my inspiration films. This was Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th and Scream. Google is a really helpful search engine, and I found the magazines, posters and websites for the 3 films within seconds. I then used the blog to create a post about my 3 inspiration films and their 3 ancillary products, detailing what I liked about them and what I would use in my own work and what I didn't like about them. I used iMovie to edit our videos of the blood and makeup workshops. This piece of research was really helpful as I used open wound makeup in the images for my ancillary products. iMovie was really useful, especially its fast forward function, which was essential, otherwise the video would be much too long. iMovie was also really convenient because it has a share option, meaning we could upload our video straight to YouTube. YouTube is a really useful platform to share homemade media products such as our workshop video, and it allows everyone to get involved from amateurs to professionals. Here is our workshop on YouTube. We used a camera to take the images for our ancillary products. The camera we used was of high quality, so the pictures were high quality also. We also had access to a tripod, which meant our photos were straight and still, so they weren't blurry, which was helpful and looked more professional. I then used Photoshop to create my ancillary products. Photoshop is a versatile piece of editing software with endless capabilities. What was most useful in this task was the cutting tool, such as the polygon lasso tool. I used this to cut out images, such as this one, to give a more professional look. Another useful function is the adjustments list, which gave me the ability to edit, for example, the colour and brightness of my images. As well as this, Photoshop has a text tool, which allowed me to add text to my poster and magazine, which is essential. And lastly, another function I used often was the blending options mode. One I frequently used was overlay, which allowed me to create a gritty texture on top of my image, which made it look more suitable for the horror genre. YouTube was invaluable during this process, as I used it to watch Photoshop tutorials and taught myself how to create certain textures and use certain tools in Photoshop, which otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do. I used a website called dafont.com to download different fonts to use on my ancillary texts. This was really important to create a professional looking product. Dafont is a really useful website because of the amount of variety in fonts that they offer and that they categorise them into certain looks, so it was easy for me to find specifically horror fonts on the site, which saved me a lot of time. Here are some of the horror fonts. Dafont was quick and easy to use because once I found the font I wanted, all I had to do was press download, open the file and press install. The font was then ready to use on any program on my laptop. Here is an example of where I used different fonts downloaded from Dafont on my film poster. Another really useful site was myphotoshopbrushes.com. This site was great because it allowed me to search for the type of brushes I wanted. For example, for these brushes I searched blood. Then the download process was easy and they were then ready to use in Photoshop. Here is an example of when I used a blood brush downloaded from myphotoshopbrushes.com on my horror magazine as a background for some text.